Turning back to the top story, for the second time this year, federal judges have blocked President Trump's controversial travel ban. The order would have temporarily prevented entry from 6 Muslim-majority countries.
A judge in Hawaii issued a nationwide restraining order just hours before the ban was set to go into effect. A Maryland judge also blocked the measure. Attorney Seth Berenzweig is with us from Washington to break it all down. So I guess the big question is now, Seth, is this travel ban doomed? Is that it?
Well, I think the answer will be in hand within the next couple of months, because this is a battle that has just started on the newest chapter. This is really a very rare development that happened last night. The lead was taken by Hawaii, and then shortly thereafter in Maryland with the same result. And the thing that's so unique about this is that this is really based upon a credibility crisis in the White House. What the judges did in these cases is it said that although the 4 corners of the executive order seem clean, they basically went around the order and they went to President Trump's statements during the campaign. And they also went through other statements, including those by Mr. Giuliani. And in sum and substance, they basically said, look, the president is saying in this executive order that this is not based upon religion. We don't believe him. There is no credibility in the court's eyes with regard to that position, and therefore this is really a very unique time in history where the courts are questioning the credibility of the president to such an extent that it's literally going around the very language of the executive order.
Let me ask you, Seth, as you point out, the judge in Hawaii cited President Trump's campaign rhetoric about wanting a Muslim ban as evidence for this ruling. He wrote, a reasonable, objective observer would even view the new order as, quote, issued with a purpose to disfavor a particular religion in spite of its stated religiously neutral purpose.
Right.
The question I think a lot of people who support President Trump, they're going to say, is this an example of legislating from the bench? Is this some kind of judicial activism that some people in this country don't like to see?
Well, that's a great question. I think that a lot of people in the United States are going to agree with the president that this is what he called an extraordinary judicial overreach. However, the problem is that you have statements that are directly on point with the general topic of immigration and his views on Islam. And the real question is going to boil down to whether the courts are going to allow the president to just speak through his presidential order, or whether they're going to view his credibility in the entire context of his words. We're headed for a Supreme Court showdown. We have the ruling last night from the West Coast through Hawaii, and then shortly after that, a ruling on the East Coast in Maryland. I think we're going to see this bubble up to the Supreme Court. Before that, we'll have some showdowns in the federal appellate courts, and that's exactly what these courts are going to drill into. Are you able to go behind these orders to really get to the credibility of the president? And it's very unique, especially on matters of national security, where the president is usually given lots of deference.
So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. You know, the process moving forward. Will this bounce back to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, and how does it go forward from there?
Sure. The case in Hawaii will almost certainly go back to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is on the West Coast. The Maryland decision is probably going to then bounce up to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is in the D.C. and Virginia area. There are going to be showdowns in those federal appeals courts, and the Ninth Circuit has already signaled its position on this, because you recall just a couple of weeks ago a 3-judge panel from the Ninth Circuit really issued a very scathing opinion against the president and really went very far, wide-reaching in terms of what his constitutional authority here is on this issue. So we will be looking for the appeals in the circuit courts that'll be happening on the East and West Coast. This will eventually boil down to a showdown in the United States Supreme Court, and this is going to end up in Washington probably within the next few months.
All right, Seth Berenzweig, thank you so much.
My pleasure.